Monday. I'm Natalia Bonner, back with another Christmas quilt. Is it Christmas in June? I don't know, but I'm really excited to share this quilt with you today. So this is the Farmhouse Christmas quilt, and the pattern, if you're interested in it, is originally designed by Center Street Quilts. We don't sell their pattern, but you can check it out on their Etsy site. Anyways, I'm really excited about this quilt. Lately, I have spent just a little bit of time quilting on a few quilts of my own for myself. I feel like I've been quilting for clients for years and years, and I've absolutely loved it. But I've always put my own quilts on the back burner and they just never get quilted, or if they do get quilted, they just get like edge to edge so that I can rush through them. And I just needed to spend a little bit of time and fulfill myself and quilt a couple of my own quilts. So thank you for taking the time to watch as I quilt something for myself. So I actually did piece this quilt a year or so ago, and it has just sat and waited for me to quilt it. And I'm so glad that I did spend the time custom machine quilting this one. I know that it's one that we will love in our home for years to come. So just a few details about this quilt before we get to the machine quilting. If you do want to see step by step from start to finish how I quilted this whole entire quilt, do make sure you hop over to my Patreon page. Over on Patreon, we will be showing you the whole entire process. So it's patreon.com/Natalia Bonner. But I did all my quilting on this quilt using my Gamble 22-inch machine. I am stitching everything you'll see here in the stitch regulated mode, and I have my stitch length set at 12 stitches per inch. So thread, what thread did I use? On the top, I used So Fine color number 401, so a really nice white thread on the whole entire top. I didn't even change colors on my green. It's just one color across the whole top. That So Fine thread blends so nicely that I really didn't feel like I needed to ever change thread colors. Even on the black, I still think it looks fabulous on this quilt. Then on my bottom, I did use Bottom Line color number 624. I do have a nice cute green backing on my quilt. It's kind of like some of the trunks, this bright green, and that neutral color of thread also blended so nicely on the quilt back. So as far as batting goes, I used one layer of the Quilter's Dream wool batting in this one. Because I was quilting it so heavy, I knew I was going to be quilting it really heavily because I'm a heavy quilter, but I still wanted this quilt to be kind of soft and one that we can use in our home. So the Quilter's Dream wool is just a nice soft batting, even if it's quilted like crazy. So I love how this turned out, and I can't wait to share more of it with you. Let's get stitching. So here's an image of the quilt after all my machine quilting is complete. If you look really close at this image, you can kind of see how on each of those trees I did quilt a different motif, something that I chose to do just to really make this quilt my own. All right, let's start the machine quilting. So on this quilt, I am going to start out by using my mini 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler. I started out at the top left corner because I am working on a long arm. And starting on that one, I'm going to start out by stitching an outline around that tree. So this tree is obviously larger than my throat space. So I'm starting up at the top, the highest point that I can. Then from there, I work down all the way as far down as I can. Now, once I get down as far as I can, then I'm going to go into that rainbow background filler. So when I stitch out this rainbow background filler, now I do have a step-by-step tutorial. We've got the link below where you can check that out, teaching you how to quilt this filler, but hopefully you'll be inspired by today's little version. So I start out by stitching one pebble. Then once I stitch one pebble, then I simply start adding echoes to the outside of that pebble. Once I've added a few echoes around the outside of that pebble, maybe 2 or 3, sometimes they even have like 4 or 5. Sometimes my pebbles don't even have any echoes. But as I'm adding those echoes, I stitch to my previous stitch line, then stitch along that stitch line, and then work in the opposite direction, adding some more echoes. So another thing to pay attention when I do these, I am trying to always alternate directions. I want them to look as though they aren't all pointing towards one side. You know, I don't want them to all look like they're pointing towards the right. If they're all pointing towards the right, then my quilt's going to look like it's falling over. So do try to make those rainbows look as if they're alternating directions as I quilt those out. So once I've stitched out that portion of the background, I kind of love the instant gratification. So I stitch a little bit of the background, and because I'm using the same thread color on this whole entire quilt top, then from there I'll transition over to the first tree block. Now I did actually quilt some of the background on the opposite side of this block before I started this one, but not all the way across the quilt. Totally personal opinion, preference, just how I felt like quilting this quilt. As you can see here on this tree though, I am going to go to my mini 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler, and I'm going to stitch in each of those squares, alternating directions, some straight lines. So as I stitch out those straight lines, they're not perfectly spaced. I'm not using my ruler for spacing, more using my ruler to help keep my lines straight, and then just kind of eyeballing the spacing. But as I'm stitching those out, I alternate direction in every other square. So here's an image of that block after the machine quilting is all complete. You can see how down on the tree trunk, the green trunk, I did choose to stitch some figure eights, and I did choose to do that consistently throughout the whole entire top. I hope you found a little bit of inspiration from today's video. Like I said, if you do want more, make sure you do check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/NataliaBonner. And again, you can pick up all these notions plus lots of other yummy stuff, including my online classes over on our website, peaceandquilt.com. Have a great day, everybody.